Hello, welcome back to the channel. And what I thought was going to be kind of a really positive, enthusiastic film for you guys to watch about a career with falconry or working with birds of prey in some context. The trouble is, the more I thought about it in depth and what I do and what I've done and what other people do, it's actually, it might sound almost negative. It's actually a lot tougher than you think, and often a lot more expensive than you think to actually get started. And for most of us, that means investment, and to be honest, for most of us, that means accruing a lot of debt that at some point you've got to try and pay off. But I'll go through some of the more likely routes of working with birds of prey that you can take up, positives and negatives, and my own experiences. Something different. It's something that a lot of you do ask me about and think about. It's not as easy as it might seem, but then anything worthwhile, anything you really want to do, it never is easy, is it? Enjoy the rest of the video. So breeding birds of prey, can you make a living from doing that? Well, obviously I'm talking UK, but a lot of this stuff is relevant wherever you live. Breeding birds of prey, we've got some Plumado falcons there, quite expensive and not many produced. Can you get rich breeding birds of prey? Can you make simply a living out of it? Some do. There are a handful of people in the UK that are millionaires purely from breeding birds of prey, specifically large falcons for the Arab market. Can you do that? No, you can't. You're not going to make a good living out of breeding birds of prey because two reasons. The bubble's burst. The bubble is bursting on the Arab market to a degree. It's not as lucrative as it was just a few years ago, and to breed for that high-end market you need really good contacts, and you need facilities, and you need millions of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of facilities. And if you're building those facilities from scratch out of your pocket, or worse, out of loans, which then cost you more in interest, I don't think the market's there anymore. The market isn't there anymore. You're not going to recoup those rewards now at this point in time. If you're breeding for falconry in the UK, the bubble has long since burst. People have got so good at producing birds of prey for falconry of all different species. There's no financial value in them whatsoever. So Plumado falcons, still something pretty rare in the UK market. Well, they were £2,500 forever. I actually spent £2,000 on a pair of Plumado youngsters a couple of years ago before COVID, 2019. I don't know, you're probably going to spend at the moment £1,200, possibly thereabouts, give or take a couple hundred. Oh, that's good. If I breed 4 of them, that's a few grand. You've got to buy the adults. This is for all breeding. You've got to buy the adult birds. You might have to wait, let's just say, average of 3 years to breed some of these birds. Some of the rarer eagles and vultures. Some of them haven't bred in captivity. It's cold. Haven't bred in captivity until they're in their 40s. You are not going to breed something after 40 years and make money, are you? It's cost you forever and all that money and investment. But you get Plumado falcons. Let's say you spend £3,000 on a young pair. Let's say it takes you 3 years and you've done a good job and they're bonded. You've spent, let's be quite conservative, £2,000 on their aviary. You've spent good quality food on those parents for 3 years at £200 to £500 a year's worth of food between them, and you produce 4 chicks because you're really lucky that year. They cost you a couple £100 each in good quality food. There's just no way you're going to make a living out of that. But of course you can make a living, and people do, if you have lots of different species and you're keeping ahead of the game. Just like any reptile breeding, you're keeping ahead of the curve. You're getting birds now that you think are going to be worth more money and be rarer and worth breeding in 2 or 3 years' time. How much are you going to invest to have not these kinds of aviaries, but to have lots and lots of secluded pens? And where are you going to put those? How much is that going to cost you in materials right now? Because of course we're talking breeding from scratch. So you're not going to make a living out of breeding birds of prey in the UK right now in 2023 if you are starting from scratch. Even if you've got the bare plot of land and it's your giant garden, the bubbles burst. So forget that idea. if you want to breed good quality birds of prey for falconry that are birds that aren't being produced very much, or do you know what, good quality birds of prey that are being overproduced. If you can produce really good quality Harris's hawks from really good quality known lines of adults, not just brothers and sisters, cousins that have been bred together and turned into little tiny pygmy things, runty things even. Oh, that'll get a few of you going. If you can breed top quality of any falconry bird species, you'll still sell them and there'll be a really good market for those birds, but they're not going to be worth enough more than the run of the mill to make any difference financially. That's just the way it is with birds of prey, I'm afraid. So what about one of the things I did, or the main reason of Raptor Exotics existing? Let's get this glove off. Well, the main reason for that was school educational visits. This is one place you can make a living, and this is probably one of the best ideas to make a living. Is A, work for yourself. There's very little money, as we're probably going to discuss or have discussed, when it comes to working for someone else. Because when you're working for someone else, you're doing just that. You're giving up your time and your skills, but you're not investing anything like you'll have to invest if you work for yourself. So Raptor Exotics, this is a job or a business I set up from home. Had a reasonably sized garden, and the idea was I would put a bank of aviaries in my garden for a team of birds of prey and build an outdoor heated reptile room for an exotic animal room, so I could have animals, reptiles and creeper crawlers and birds of prey to go into schools and cover their nature-based topics. That's still the only thing that pays my wages. But if you just want to career in birds of prey, you're only going to hit some of those topics. You're not going to cover rainforests with birds of prey alone. You're not going to cover mini beasts with birds of prey alone. You can feature them in all of these talks, but you're only really going to cover, you might get away with predators with just birds of prey, big topic. You'd probably get away with nocturnal animals, just talking about owls and such like, and of course birds of prey and some of the history topics. But just birds of prey alone, you haven't got a huge spread across the curriculum, the nature-based curriculum. So even that's quite hard. But even if you succeed in that, two things. What are you going to do in the summer holidays? Well, to me, the obvious thing was travel the country, putting on falconry displays. Falconry displays are very hard to do again, standalone. You've got to factor these in one big pot to really fill your diary space. So school education, you can do with birds of prey. You can factor that in with guest speakers to clubs and brownies and scouts and gardening clubs. Or last night I was at Nuneaton Birdwatchers Club. There's a little niche there, and you can factor that in through the summer with outdoor events. They can be static displays with birds of prey. They can be static and flying displays with birds of prey. They can be just flying displays. The difficulty is here, again, it's everyone jumping on a bandwagon, most of which are completely rubbish outfits, but you as an organiser, you don't know that. And this is what happens. You ask Fred Bloggs, who's brilliant with birds of prey, how much for a day falconry display, static? And he thinks, oh, do them a favour, they're local, I'll charge £1,000 a day. Now, if you work for someone else and you're on £10, £20, £30 an hour, that seems exorbitant. Those people aren't paying themselves £1,000 a day. They're probably paying themselves nothing. They've got a lot of investment to get back. So £1,000 a day. And the outdoor event organiser, I'm going to ring a couple more. Fred Bloggs with his house says, I'll do it for £200 a day. And he's rubbish. He's rubbish. They get him in, they spend £200 a day. They think the £1,000 a day was ripping him off. And Fred Bloggs, the owl man, comes along and he flies an owl, it flies up a tree. He's got another owl, he's starved it to death, it falls on the floor and someone's dog has a go at it. And his owls look miserable and he gets loads of complaints because they're just tied onto logs with bits of baling twine. But to the organiser, that's a falconry display. That's what they organised. They don't know there's any difference between them. They now think, oh, we're not having that again. We've got loads of complaints. It was rubbish. And that's what you're up against. Because that organiser won't next year have you and think, oh, I should have spent £1,000 and Fred Bloggs Junior because he's brilliant, because it doesn't work like that. They just think, we're never having falconry at our outside event. It was rubbish and we got complaints. So you don't get in there, A, because you didn't go in cheap enough, well, you can't do it for pence, and B, they're not going to have you again because they're not having falconry because they think it's rubbish. So this is what you're up against. My mentor, going back 30 years, when there was no internet and mobile phones, he was charging £600 a day to do falconry displays at country shows 30 years ago. I can tell you now, most average size events don't want to spend £600 a day on a falconry display. It's really hard to get anything out of them. Now, this is what I would turn up with to an event. I would turn up with old van at the time, £3,000 or £4,000 van, 2 really good falconers that put in loads and loads of time every day so those birds were show fit and ready and knew their stuff. I would take 6 transmitters, so that's about £1,000. These are radio transmitters, and let's say 2 receivers, so let's just say another 1,500 quid. So we're now up to, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, £6,000. All your bath, all your travel boxes, all your banners, all your fencing, your proper marquee gazebo to keep the birds safe and weathered and safe from dogs and things. And then you've got to start adding your birds. So I'd take a bald eagle, £5,000, golden eagle, £5,000, let's say, even it out. One's now worth less, one's now worth a lot more. We'd take a vulture, hooded vulture, you can't even get them now, thousands of pounds worth. We'd take a couple of falcons, we'd take an owl, we'd take a Harris's hawk and 2 kites. I don't know, you're turning up with over 20 grand's worth of stuff and 2 professional people. You're there, you might start work at 4 in the morning to travel there, you might get home at 7 at night, and they want to pay you 400 quid. So I can tell you now, falconry displays with birds of prey, incredibly tough to get into, and incredibly tough. Oh, by the way, you need a trailer as well if you've just got an average size van to put all your kit in. So it's incredibly tough to do it well, and if you're not going to do it well, don't bother, you won't last. If you think you're going to do it on a couple of £100, you will have the worst time ever. Flying birds of prey in displays is 100 times more difficult than flying a bird in falconry. It's 100 times more difficult than flying birds in displays on a set site like we do at the Falconry Centre. Travelling around, flying birds of prey reliably, well, with the wow factor, weekend in, weekend out, takes a lot of investment to do it right, and a lot of skill and a lot of time to keep those birds really fit and looking sharp and brilliant. You can be quiet. So yes, work for yourself with birds of prey, education, shows, talks, but bear in mind it's going to take you, I think it took me 10 years to recoup my debt, 10 years of spending and not getting money back, and it still has a debt, but it's a manageable debt now that's gradually coming down. So it's very, very difficult. These are a big investment, but your birds and your kit last a long, long time. So do your enclosures, but you've still got to spend that money. So of course there's positives, but you have to look at it many, many times in many instances. You're looking at a lifestyle with falconry or with birds of prey. A lifestyle is very different, hold on, foot dip, is very different from making your fortune or being rich financially. In fact, most jobs working with animals, it's probably fair to say, it's a lifestyle. It gives you a different lifestyle from a 9 to 5 working for someone else maybe, but it is, very few people become financially rich from working with birds of prey, that's for sure. They do, there are jobs there that can facilitate that, but you know, for me, flying a golden eagle as a falconry bird was actually made possible because of my business, Raptor Exotics. It kind of, I don't know, financially justified me spending thousands of pounds on a bird of prey, which, because although he is my falconry bird, he's also an incredibly good educational tool, and he fits into many, many aspects of my businesses, whether wildlife or bird photography, school education, so on and so forth. So you know, there are perks. He's not a financial perk. He drained the bank account, but it was made possible because if I worked for someone else doing if you like, a normal job, it would have been hard to justify spending thousands of pounds when you've got a family on something that would have just been your hobby, your passion. Slightly different and easier to wangle with the taxman and possibly the wife if it's needed for business. I think probably in 2023, as it has been for quite a while, one of the most lucrative ways to make money with birds of prey, I don't mean make money, you're going to be a millionaire, but to make a living, is actually pest control. Avian pest control. Very often you can just do it with Harris's hawks. If you're talking seagulls on roofs that you just want to clear, pigeons in warehouses, because very difficult to do this with big falcons. If you're on a big warehouse rooftop, and they are bigger than you can ever believe if you've never been on one, and you've got your harnesses and a running line on, and you're abiding by their health and safety, so you've had to pay out and go on training courses how to use harnesses, you've had to buy your own safety equipment. If your falcon sees a injured gull a block away on a trading estate on another rooftop, it's going to take it out. Now, it's going to take you quite a long time to get off that roof, go and sign out, get off site, sign out of security. You can't just go, you have to go through protocol. Can you even get on that other roof? Have you got access? Are you allowed? Is there anyone there? It's quite a difficult job. Harris hawks, they're not going to command the sky and clear lesser blackback gulls like a big falcon will, but they're point and squirt. And if you train them right, they'll travel all around the rooftop, lifting them off, disturbing that colony from breeding and sending them elsewhere. If you want to do a job and work with pest control with birds of prey, you've got a lot to learn. Again, if you're the best Harris hawker in the world as a falconer with one Harris hawk, you don't know anything. You don't know anything about girl abatement, gull or bird abatement. It's a different thing from falconry. It just incorporates a lot of those skills. You've got a lot to learn. So to learn some of that, you might want to go work for a big avian pest management company. But know this, most of those big companies have a terrible reputation where you're actually using their birds. Harris's hawks that have been passed around to new people coming and going every few months because they don't like the job and they don't like working for some of these companies. This is hearsay, but I hope you get in a gist. Often they won't let you use your own hawks. If you don't know a lot, actually you're going to learn a lot of negativity from those. If you know a lot and you think, okay, I don't know, let's say I'm going to earn £20 an hour, I'm going to use my own vehicle, maybe travel around a lot, it's not that good an hourly rate, but learn a little bit first. That way you're not investing loads in the first place, because even if you do invest, you still got to get those contracts, which can be hard to win. If you're doing avian management, clearing birds away as a full-time job, you are not going to be hunting with your hawks or falcons all day long in a romanticized view of it in your head. You're not. You're going to be using an air rifle, and there you're probably going to have certification because you're in a place where people are or could be working. You're going to be spending days shoveling up gull and pigeon crap and bagging it up with dust masks on and health and safety sort of suits and equipment. You're going to be shoveling muck, sometimes days on end, muck and moss and bones off rooftops to clear away potential nest sites before they come back. You're going to be sticking up pigeon spikes in places you don't want to, like town centres, to stop birds landing in the first place. Don't believe for 1 minute a job working with birds of prey in avian pest management is going to be a job where you're paid to fly birds of prey hunting all day long. It can be demoralising, dirty, and I can tell you something else. When you get on top of a contract and now you're going for regular short visits to earn money and show willing, probably for another company you're working for, you can be working around for 2 to 6 to 8 hours a day, never seeing anything, never even unhooding your Harris's hawk because there's nothing there for it to chase. You've done a good job. That is so boring. Walking around a warehouse for 2 hours, carrying a hawk, being polite to everyone, big part of the job. All right, mate, what you got there? Oh, you got to go. You be polite, talk to the people. That's a boring long 2 hours. Yes, there is a job in avian bird management. It's there are jobs there. You've got to be driven, like anything self-employed or anything doing something you're passionate about, even if you're working for someone else. You've got to be massively driven, because there's times where it is a really low ebb. If you were lucky enough to land contract on a landfill site and you're going to jump through all the hoops, all the health and safety, all the certification, it sounds great. Got your flying falcons all day, every day. Got your own team of falcons flying, and they're working and they're hunting gulls and such like. Stand there in bitter January winds, up to your knees in frozen mud, trudging through mud to retrieve your falcon that's took out a gull on a muddy, wet bank. You've got to do that as well as the good stuff. So always think about that. It's nothing is rosy. It's all yin and yang, and you have to take these jobs on knowing that for sure. So what about setting up your own falconry centre or bird of prey area in, I don't know, I've seen them in garden centres and things, and I know one or two that are absolutely exceptional that are housed in big garden centres. So there's kind of a ready footfall and market there. Yeah, that's a nice idea. How are you going to work out, if it's not your land, are you paying a monthly rent? Are you paying a split on your takings or gate fee? Blooming jackdaws. How are you paying, and what are you paying every month? And then where's your investment coming to build yourselves all the enclosures? Well, firstly, forget all the falconry centres that advertise on their website that we've got 250,000 birds here to see. Icarus Falconry's got 30 birds maximum, and often they're not all on site. That's still a lot of birds to work with and a lot of enclosures to clean. Keep yourself small, have a niche, have some niche iconic birds of prey that people know, and have the bog standard stuff like a barn owls and Harris's hawks that if you train them right, work and wow any audience. Barn owl, you can wow an audience for 20 minutes with a barn owl and want them loving for more. Barn owl, to us falconers, us people that work with birds of prey, 10 a penny, nothing special. To the public, if you've got a good commentary and that bird's trained well, showstopper every time. A barn owl, just like a kestrel hovering to a little lure or something, or to your glove. You don't have to spend a fortune on the birds to have the wow factor. But who's going to maintain it all? Who's going to pay to build it all? And if you're paying to build it all, how are you going to ever get those costs back? What are you going to charge people to come and see? Are you then going to offer experience days to make a bit of extra money? How are you going to manage those experience days? You've got to think of these. Do you need a website and a booking system? How are you going to manage the whole business and do the work as well? Because if you're going to pay someone to do one of those jobs, firstly, if they're flying the birds, you're not even doing the fun bit. That's me. I don't fly any birds anymore. I don't do falconry displays hardly ever. I only work with birds of prey in my schools and talks. I don't fly any birds on experience days or shows anymore. Other people do that here. I do the maintenance, the back office stuff. That's no fun. That's no fun. Just repairing and rebuilding stuff. But who's going to do it if you're doing the birds? Who's booking the people in? Who's answering the phone? Who's answering all the emails? You've got to do all that, and you've probably got to do that late into the night until maybe 10:30 at night, most days. And if you're doing it on your own, you need to be working 12-hour days. Most falconry centres, really, most places, the staff are going to be working dawn till dusk throughout the summer months when it's busy, hoping to do shorter hours and have some more falconry time in the winter. It's all or nothing when you work with animals. And when you work with birds of prey, as flying birds, the time they take to keep fit and fly well, that constant training and exercise sucks away your time because you've still got to look after them. So you've got to think of those things as well. So maybe it's better to work at a falconry centre, not have all the outlay, not do all the office stuff, not have any of the stress of running a business. just work and fly birds of prey and get paid for it. Yeah, that's like most jobs working with animals. How much are you going to get paid for it? Not a lot, possibly, unless you work your way up to the top and you've proven that you're a grafter and you can work really hard and you're going to come in early. You're going to make the place at their Falconry Centre look spotless. You're going to just get in, get your sleeves rolled up and crack on. You're going to stay late because you want to get those birds trained to the top of their ability after your day's work. You've still got birds you want to fly and you want to get to perfection and push further and further. So you put on the best commentary and the best displays there ever are. Then you're going to rise up through the ranks and you're going to get paid a bit more because you'll be at the top of the Falconry Centre, wherever it is in the world. But it's still not going to pay you a great deal of money. It's going to give you a lifestyle. But you're not just flying birds. You're not just flying birds. That Falconry Centre only gets paid by the public that come on experience days to see the shows, to look around, to see a display. That's where they get their money from. So it's not about the birds, is it, the Falconry Centre? It's actually about the public. Because without the public, the Falconry Centre can't exist. It can't exist by having falcons. It can only exist by having people. So now the job you thought that was all about the beauty of being paid to fly a team of birds of prey, well, it is that. But it's also being polite and smiling all day long, every day, even when you're in the foulest mood and your whole life's falling to bits at home. You've got to put a smile on, have fun, make people laugh, because your job in a Falconry Centre is actually a people person's job and an animal management job. It's both of those things, and it can only ever be both of those things together, not one or the other. You're not going to get paid well to just clean and fly birds behind the scenes. You might get that as a volunteer job. It's not going to pay you a living. So it's really hard, but it's a good way, if you want a career with birds of prey, to give you an insight and a background. Hang on, just see what Zeus is up to. He's all right. He's eating a big chunk of hare meat. So working for other people within the realms of keeping and working with birds of prey, that gives you a good understanding without the investment and without the stress and hassle. It does give you that sort of good understanding, and then you decide, is there a part of this you're going to branch out on and set up your own business in some way? For me, keep it small, keep it very, very manageable, keep it immaculate and above reproach from any quarter, have all the right licenses, insurances, paperworks, documentation to travel birds of prey in transit, DBS certificates to work with people, insurance for 5 million upwards in case your bird scratches someone by accident. Who knows what's going to happen there. Your risk assessments you're going to produce and think up yourself and modify each year or more. You're going to have probably not a zoo license, but you're going to have a license to exhibit animals from the council. You're going to be inspected and you're going to have to fill out daily paperwork for that. It's not all about working with birds. You're an office bod as well. Think about all these things. All of these things are about that lifestyle. You still, if you get it right, you will still enjoy doing what you do. As much as you'll hate doing the office work long into the night most days, as much as you'll hate the fact some bod from the council is going to make you fill out forms every single day to say that you fed and watered that bird, which you're so good at what you do and you're so passionate, it goes without doubt you're going to feed and water that bird and know what to feed it, but you've got to fill out paperwork every day to say that. It still gives you a lifestyle, and if you get it right, it still gives you an opportunity to run a diary where, if you keep it small enough, you can still be a falconer through the winter. It gives you an opportunity to have a day off in the week when you want to, within reason. But if you go down the self-employed route for any job, know this: it's only for the most driven of people. If you struggle to get out of bed to go to work, your self-employed investment will fizzle away and you will lose the lot. You have to get up every single day. You cannot let one single client down. You cannot do that, because they all talk to each other. You let that client down, that could be at least once a year job for you. That's gone. And they'll tell other people. You cannot be sick. You have to go into work and pretend you're not sick when you feel like you're dying inside, because you do not get sick pay. You do not get holiday pay. People are understanding, but not that much. You're going to school, let's say. 120 kids all know you're going to come, talk to them for an hour about hours, class by class, and you phone in sick. It doesn't matter if you're dying. You've just thrown a sickie, haven't you? Of course you have. That's what it sounds like. I've had a couple of days off since I've been self-employed in about 17 or 18 years. Once I stabbed myself in the knee and bled profusely and had to have stitches because I filled a Wellington boot with blood, and I still wanted to go in the next day to my booking, but I actually couldn't bend my leg the next day. And I think the killer is a proper case of the squits. Yeah, diarrhea tablets do so much, but other than that, yeah, you're not really going anywhere at those sort of times. But you have to mitigate all these things. It's not easy. Have a good think about this video. It was never intended to put you off working with birds of prey. But I think sometimes it's best to look at it from the toughest angle. And if you think I can drive beyond that, then it is for you, isn't it? The rest of you, there's no point you wasting your time. There's no point, is it? You're wasting time and money. It is hard, but it is worthwhile if it's for you. But it is so hard financially and mentally to work for yourself, but even work for someone else. Because the only good employees are the ones that turn up on time, they get there early, they get their heads down, and they crack on. And remember, there's a queue of people that think they want to do that job. And I can tell you now, unlike me, most Falconry Centre owners and people that manage them, they know you're getting phone calls and emails all the time. As a business like every day, they know there's someone else that wants to do what you're doing, and they are ruthless. So don't even apply for a job with someone unless you can turn up on time, get your head down and crack on. Nobody in this industry wants an employee that thinks a day is spent doing selfies with ours, believe you me. So think about all of those things for sure. I think for me, that this is what I did, and this is one recommended way. If you work a job that shifts, maybe you do 3 12-hour shifts. I used to be a print finisher, 3 12-hour shifts a week, and you know your shift pattern, or you're already self-employed doing something. Let's say you do property maintenance. I don't know. Let's just say you do property maintenance, and you can juggle your diary, and you want to get in something else, and you can get a job maybe with avian pest management. Flex out, they might want 2 or 3 shifts a week, and you can hedge your bets. And it is possible to do that. I did that, actually. It is possible to have the right job already that you can do that. Hedge your bets. Or you want to start a school educational business, and you think you can you've got the gift of the gab and the animal or the bird knowledge, but you can get all the kit, you can buy it and spend out of the money you're earning with your full-time shift work job. And then you can build a diary of visiting schools, working 7 days a week around your other job. So total, you might be working 6 or 7 days a week all the time. And then hedge your bets and jack in the job you're doing for the job you want to do when you've buoyed up enough in the diary to scrape by, and then you can really drive it forward. And another thing to think about, of course, if you're doing it for yourself, learn how to do a cheap online website template. I can build a website with these online templates that looks okay. My Raptor Exotics one still looks okay. Still gets me all the work I need for Raptor Exotics. You need that window, and you need to be on that social media. I hate social media. It drains my life force. Right now, you're draining my life force. It takes up so much time. Everyone's on it. As much as you love animals and birds, you've got to have that social media presence and start building that up as well, and build your brand for sure. I hope you've enjoyed my most negative of videos, which is meant to be the most positive of videos, because I'm going to end on the fact that I truly believe if you are passionate about something and you truly have a dream to do something with your life, I don't care what education you've got or you haven't got on paper. If you have a dream and you're going to work harder than anybody else in that industry to get that dream, you will make it happen. You will. But you ain't going to be doing that on a whim. Dream big if you want to. Put in the work and the graft, and your dreams will come true. I absolutely believe that, because at the end of the day, it's all down to you to make things happen in your life. And it comes down to how hard you want to work to achieve your own dreams. I love doing what I do. There's a lot of negativity, I've told you about it, but I love what I do. I make people happy. I educate people about birds of prey and the natural world. There's not many people doing that anymore. We're just milking it to death. And I get paid. At the end of the day, I get paid and I earn a living, and I have reasonable, flexible times that I can do stuff doing what I love. I was a print finisher for 14 years. It was the most boring job in the world. Indoors with no windows, and I took that job at 21 because it meant I could fly a goshawk all through the falconry season, because I work morning and afternoons. I could fly a goshawk 6 days a week through the short days of winter, and I stuck that job out for 14 years. It paid to do up our house when we had a small family. It paid to keep a family. My wife came to visit me once to bring my packed lunch I'd forgotten, and she cried when she saw where I worked, knowing all I want to do is be outside amongst nature. And she saw me working there, and she'd come home, she cried, said, Dave, I didn't know what a demoralising, what a dark, noisy, oppressive work environment you worked in. How do you come home and smile so much? I couldn't do that job now in a million years. But it's took so much support from other people, so much money, and so much graft and time to be doing something I love. This is my school qualifications that I took from school. Nothing. I got D's in my two favourite subjects, rural studies and biology, because all I did when it came to doing my revision for my exams, I bunked off and went fishing. And that's a true story. If you're a grafter, you're reliable, and you can drag your ass out of bed in the morning, you can make your dreams come true, but don't think it will be easy, because it's not. See you in the next one.